Welcome to International Management, the podcast that breaks down the core challenges and strategies of global business. Based on Orlando Casabon's scripts for his international management class, each episode offers practical insights, clear strategies, real-world examples, and expert guidance to help you navigate complex global landscapes. For additional resources, visit casabon.com. Now, let's dive into the essentials of international management.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into motivation and leadership across cultures. It's always fascinating to me how people from different backgrounds, what makes them tick.
Yeah, it's really about peeling back those layers and looking at human behavior in a global context.
Exactly. And, we've got these cultural stereotypes that are so easy to fall into. So I'm excited to use these excerpts from this management script and see what we can uncover.
Well, one of the things the script talks about right off the bat is, that classic question, is personality nature or nurture?
Ah, yes, the age-old debate. So, are we born a certain way, or does our environment shape us? What does the script say?
It basically says that it's not so black and white. Like, both genetics and our upbringing matter. But the important thing is that everyone's an individual, even within the same culture.
Right. We can't just put everyone in a box based on their culture.
No, absolutely not. And that kind of leads into how the script talks about those big 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Oh yeah, the big 5. I remember those from psychology class. So how do different cultures see these traits?
Well, the script highlights how cultures actually value these traits differently. For example, in China, being extroverted is really important for career success, but that might not be the case in, say, Scandinavian countries. Modesty and being more reserved are valued more there.
That makes sense. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about motivation. What motivates you, Apankia? What gets you up in the morning?
Honestly, for me, it's uncovering new knowledge and connecting seemingly different ideas. It's exciting.
I like that. And speaking of connections, the script looks at motivation in different ways, from those basic needs like food and shelter to more complex stuff like setting goals and feeling like things are fair.
Yeah, and one of the coolest points it makes is about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That pyramid we've all seen.
Right, with basic needs at the bottom, self-actualization at the top.
Well, get this. The script says different cultures actually rearrange that pyramid. What's at the top for one culture might be in the middle for another.
Whoa, really? So something considered a higher level need in one culture might be basic in another. Do you have any examples from the script?
Definitely. Think about some collectivist cultures, like in parts of Asia. Belonging and harmony are huge, so they might actually prioritize that need for belonging, which is higher up in Maslow's original hierarchy, over even basic needs, like food. Imagine someone sharing their limited food, even if it means they go hungry.
Wow, that's a powerful example. It really shows how we can make assumptions about what motivates people from different cultures.
Exactly. And this leads to managing across cultures, another topic in the script. It starts by looking at Mexico, where family is everything, not just personally, but in the workplace too.
Okay, so how does that family focus play out in a Mexican workplace?
Well, leaders are often seen as mentors, kind of like a caring parent to their team. It's very different from that more individualistic, task-focused style you see in a lot of Western cultures.
So there's no one right way to lead?
Nope. Not at all. And to highlight that even more, the script goes into these Western-Russian joint ventures, where those cultural differences in leadership can really clash.
Oh, I bet. Tell me more about those clashes.
Well, historically, Russian workers often respond well to a more directive, top-down leadership style. But Westerners might see that as controlling. They're used to more autonomy and collaboration.
Sounds tricky. How can you bridge that gap?
Well, the script suggests that leaders in these situations need to be super adaptable and understand the different cultures, find ways to combine different approaches.
So it's not about forcing one culture style on another. It's about respecting both and finding a new way.
Exactly. All right, let's shift gears again to reward systems, another area the script explores.
Yeah.
What would be your ideal reward for a job well done?
Ooh, tough one. I think a thoughtful gift, something that shows they get my interest.
That's great. It shows how personal rewards are. The script points out that what motivates someone in one culture might not work in another.
Give me an example of how rewards can differ across cultures.
Sure. Think about the US, where individual achievements and promotions are huge motivators. But in Japan, the focus is on group harmony and long-term employment. So bonuses tied to team performance and company loyalty would be more effective there.
Wow, those subtle differences really impact motivation. So what qualities make a successful leader in this globalized world?
The script talks about the Globe Leadership Project, a massive study on leadership across tons of countries. They've found that some traits, like charisma, integrity, and teamwork, are valued everywhere, but how important they are varies.
Okay, so how do those good traits look different in different cultures?
Think about charisma. In some Latin American cultures, a super charismatic leader might be seen as inspiring, but in some European cultures, that same level of charisma might come across as arrogant.
It's not enough to just have those good qualities. It's about knowing how they're seen in different cultures.
Exactly. And that leads to a key idea for cross-cultural leadership, developing a global mindset.
I've heard that term a lot. What does it mean, really? Can you learn it or are you born with it?
You can definitely develop it. And the script lays it out. First, you need cultural intelligence, or CQ.
CQ, cultural intelligence. What's that exactly?
Think of it as the ability to work well in diverse settings, being aware of your own biases, and being able to adapt to different norms and perspectives.
Like stepping out of your cultural bubble and seeing things from another point of view.
Exactly. And then comes adaptability. You got to be flexible in your thinking, willing to change your approach depending on the culture. Be open to new experiences, okay with learning from mistakes, and comfortable with uncertainty.
It's like becoming more flexible and aware of different cultures.
You got it. It's about recognizing there are lots of ways of seeing and doing things and being open to learning from those differences.
This is making me think a lot about how I interact with people from different cultures.
Yeah.
What are some practical things I can do to, start developing my own global mindset?
Well, one of the best things is to just interact with people from diverse backgrounds. Travel, volunteer, even just strike up conversations with people from different cultures in your own community.
And I guess reading books or watching documentaries about other cultures can help too.
Absolutely. The script also talks about developing your social capital, building real relationships across cultures, making an effort to connect with people from different backgrounds, build trust, and have open, respectful conversations.
So it's not just about knowledge. It's about real connections and understanding.
You nailed it. Now, before we move on, let's take a minute. What really stood out to you from what we've talked about so far?
I think the big thing for me is realizing we can't assume everyone sees the world like we do. We have to be curious and humble when we interact with people from different cultures and be open to learning.
Couldn't agree more. And remember, developing a global mindset is a journey. It never ends. The more we understand each other, the better we'll be at navigating our world.
Well said. Now, before we dive into the next part, here's something to think about. What's one small thing you can do today to expand your own cultural horizons? Maybe try a new food, talk to someone from a different background, or read about a culture you don't know much about. Even small steps can make a difference.
We'll be back soon with more insights into motivation and leadership in an international context. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Before we jump ahead, you know that thing you mentioned about taking small steps to broaden our cultural horizons? That's so important. Building that cultural intelligence, it's an ongoing thing, right?
It is. It's not like you become an expert overnight.
Yeah.
It's more about staying curious and being open to seeing the world differently.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that idea of developing a global mindset.
Yeah.
Super important these days, right?
It's really interesting how the script connects all these things together. Personality, motivation, leadership styles, and how culture influences everything. It is. It's like, imagine a tapestry where each thread is a different part of how we behave. And culture is what makes the pattern, it connects it all.
I love that. Okay, let's talk teamwork. We've all had good and bad experiences working in teams. What makes a team work well, especially when you have people from different cultures?
Well, the script gets into that. It compares those teams where everyone's similar, homogeneous teams to those with more diversity, heterogeneous teams. Homogeneous teams, they have less conflict. Communication is easier.
Makes sense. Easier to understand each other when you have similar backgrounds.
Right. But here's the thing. They can get stuck in a rut. You don't get that creative spark, that comes from having different perspectives.
So less conflict, but maybe less innovation too.
Exactly. And that's where those diverse teams shine. But the tricky part is managing those differences well.
Which is where leadership comes in. How do you lead a team with different viewpoints and cultural norms towards a shared goal?
The script emphasizes creating a shared purpose. It's not just about assigning tasks. You got to create an environment where everyone feels heard, respected, valued for what they bring to the table.
So those differences become strengths, not weaknesses.
Exactly. And leaders need certain skills to do that. You got to bridge those cultural gaps, make sure communication is open, and handle conflict in a constructive way.
Sounds like a lot. What are some strategies from the script for leading diverse teams well?
First, leaders need to be aware of their own biases, how their culture might affect how they interact with others.
So self-awareness again,
Yep.
seeing things from other perspectives.
Yep, and it's about actively creating an inclusive culture. Set clear expectations for respectful communication, make sure you're hearing from everyone, and deal with any bias or discrimination quickly and fairly.
Creating that inclusive environment is ongoing work then.
Absolutely. And it's not always easy, for sure. Cultural differences will cause misunderstandings and conflicts sometimes, but you address them directly with empathy and learn from each other.
Speaking of challenges, the script acknowledges that those cultural differences can lead to miscommunication, even when everyone means well.
For sure. And giving and receiving feedback is one area where this happens a lot. What's seen as direct and constructive in one culture could be disrespectful in another.
Oh yeah, I can see that. How do you handle that then? Give feedback that's both culturally appropriate and effective.
Well, the script has a few ideas. First, understand the norms for feedback in that specific culture. Like in some cultures, feedback should be private, while in others, it's public.
And there's also that difference in how direct people are, right?
Yes, some cultures are very direct with feedback, while others are more subtle.
Finding that balance between honesty and being considerate, taking culture into account.
Right, and always focus on what someone did, the behavior or the outcome, not on them as a person.
So instead of saying, you're a bad communicator, you might say, I noticed some confusion about deadlines. Let's talk about how to communicate better.
Perfect. Focus on specifics and give clear suggestions for improvement.
What about receiving feedback? Anything to watch out for there?
Oh, definitely. In some cultures, it's rude to question feedback from someone in authority. But in others, it's totally fine, even encouraged to have an open discussion.
Navigating all those cultural differences around feedback sounds complicated.
It takes practice, and you'll make mistakes. When in doubt, ask for clarification. Better safe than sorry.
Good advice. Okay, so we've covered communication styles, leadership, rewards, but what about nonverbal communication? How does that play into all this?
Nonverbal communication. It's super interesting, and people often forget about it. This script talks about how body language, eye contact, even personal space, they all mean different things in different cultures.
Yeah, I've experienced that. In some Asian countries, direct eye contact can be aggressive, but in other cultures, it's a sign of respect.
Exactly, and even something as simple as smiling. In some places, it's just friendly, but in others, it might be only for close friends.
So it's not just what we say, but how we act, too.
You got it. Be observant, ask if you're not sure, and be willing to adapt your own behavior to make others comfortable.
Be aware, be curious, and be willing to adjust.
Exactly. And even when we mess up, which happens, it's a chance to learn.
True. It's not about being perfect. It's about learning and growing.
Well said. And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, here's a thought. The more we understand other cultures, the more we understand ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. It shows why cultural diversity is so important, not just for getting along, but for growing as people.
We'll be back soon for the last part of our deep dive into motivation and leadership in an international context. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We covered so much, from personality to motivation to leadership, and it's all connected to culture. It's amazing. It's like we've traveled the world seeing how people behave in different places.
It has been quite a journey. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the main takeaway is that there's no single recipe for leadership or motivation. What works in one culture could totally flop in another.
It's not about memorizing rules for each culture. It's more about that awareness and flexibility, like we talk about. Understanding the why behind the what.
Exactly. Asking ourselves, why do people in this culture act this way? What are their beliefs and values that shape their actions?
Reminds me of how different cultures can flip that Maslow's hierarchy around. Maybe rethink what motivates people.
It shows how easily our own culture can make us blind to other ways of seeing things.
So how do we get rid of those blind spots? How do we develop a truly global mindset?
Well, the script has some practical tips. It encourages us to put ourselves out there, interact with people from diverse backgrounds, travel, volunteer, even just striking up conversations with people from different cultures around us.
Stepping out of our comfort zones, seeing different perspectives, different ways of life.
Right. And even think about the media we consume. Are we getting diverse viewpoints or just reinforcing our own biases?
It's easy to get stuck in that echo chamber, hearing only what we already believe.
Exactly. The script also talks about cultural intelligence, or CQ, which is that ability to handle cross-cultural situations well.
And CQ is more than just knowing facts about different cultures, right?
You got it. It's not just knowledge. You need the skills too. Active listening, empathy, adjusting your communication style depending on who you're talking to.
So, putting that knowledge to work, interacting respectfully and effectively with people from different cultures.
Exactly. And that brings us back to leadership. The script stresses that leading in a global world takes more than just charisma or technical skills. You need to be culturally sensitive, adaptable, and able to inspire people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Like being a bridge builder, connecting with people on a human level, regardless of their culture.
Well said. And it's not easy. You got to be willing to challenge your own assumptions, step out of your comfort zone, and embrace all that diversity.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, remember this. Culture is powerful. It shapes how we see things, how we act, how we interact.
Developing that global mindset is crucial in today's world, whether we're working across borders, on international projects, or just talking to people from different cultures right here at home.
And lastly, embrace learning about different cultures. Be curious, open-minded, and challenge your assumptions. The more we understand others, the more we understand ourselves and our place in this world.
That's a perfect way to end. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity to keep exploring the amazing world of cultural diversity.
Remember, this isn't the end. Keep learning, keep growing, keep diving deep.